Today we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly, a pretty radical new idea in digital security. It's called ENIGMA, and it makes a promise that sounds almost impossible: authentication without secrets.
So let's just start with the central puzzle here. How can you prove you possess a secret, the key to your entire digital life, without ever actually showing it to anyone? It sounds like a paradox, right? But figuring this out could basically solve one of the biggest, most persistent problems in all of cybersecurity.
To really get why this matters so much, we first have to take a hard look at the systems that we all use every single day. Let's just call them what they are: our broken digital locks.
You see, the fundamental issue with pretty much every security system out there is that at some point in the process, you have to hand over your secret. You type a password, and a server somewhere sees it. You scan your fingerprint, a device reads it. That moment of revelation is the single greatest point of failure. It's the open door that makes theft possible.
I mean, just look at the methods we use today. Passwords, we all know the drill. Once they're stolen, they can be used over and over again. Biometrics seem better, but they're even trickier. You can't just change your fingerprint if a database gets hacked. And even the newfangled passkeys still rely on long-term secret keys that, you guessed it, can be phished. They all share the exact same weakness: a static, stealable secret. So this brings us to a completely different way of thinking. Instead of showing our secrets, what if we could just prove we have them? This is the absolute core idea behind ENIGMA.
This quote right here, it just nails it. It gets right to the heart of this new model. Your proof of identity, what they call the witness, it's no longer a static thing like a password. Instead, it's a live, dynamic ability. It's your capacity to recognize and respond to a specific pattern in a specific moment. This shifts security from being about what you know to what you can do.
So how in the world does this work? Well, every user has something called a private map. Think of it like your own personal secret decoder ring. It takes a public challenge that anyone can see, and it translates it into a private meaning that only you can understand. And here is the most important part: this map is never transmitted. It never leaves you.
And that brings us to the second pillar of the system. The proof itself, that witness, is ephemeral. That's just a fancy way of saying it only exists for a single moment in time. It's built from the current challenge and a super precise timestamp. So a proof that was valid 5 seconds ago, it's already completely useless. This design, right out of the box, just kills replay attacks dead.
All right, so let's get into the mechanics. What does it actually look like when you log in? This is what's called the interactive security ceremony.
The whole system cleverly leverages a few things our brains are just naturally amazing at. First, something called perceptual grouping. It's just our innate ability to spot a pattern in a messy, cluttered image. Second, you apply your private map to figure out which specific pattern is the right one for you in that moment. And third, and this is the clever part, you give a masked response. It's a way of answering that proves you saw the pattern without ever revealing which one you saw.
So in practice, this all just becomes a quick, simple ritual. You see a challenge, you use your secret map to find your target, and you give a masked response. You do this a few times, and that's it. The system has verified your identity, all without you ever giving up a single secret.
You know, the best way to think about the verification process is like a secret handshake. The server sends you a challenge, which is like one part of the handshake. Your response, which is guided by your private map, is the other part. When the server puts them together, they perfectly cancel each other out. It confirms the handshake was correct, without the server ever needing to know the secret moves you used to do it.
Now, this unique design isn't just clever for the sake of being clever, it's incredibly resilient. So let's see how it actually holds up against the kinds of attacks that plague us today, and maybe more importantly, the ones that are coming tomorrow.
And this brings us to the most obvious question, right? The one you've probably been thinking. If a hacker just records my screen and my clicks, can't they just steal my secret? With pretty much any other system, the answer is a simple and terrifying yes. With this one, it's a firm no.
And here's why. First off, because your responses are masked, that recording is ambiguous. An attacker can't look at it and figure out your private map. Second, the proof itself is ephemeral. Remember, it's tied to that unique moment in time, so replaying the recording a few seconds later will totally fail. And finally, the entire process doesn't create a password or a token that can be stolen and reused. There's literally nothing for the attacker to take.
So, the result is a system that just neutralizes today's biggest threats. Replay attacks? They fail because the proof is time-bound. Phishing?
It's useless because even if they trick you, the captured response can't be reused. And data harvesting, stealing huge databases, becomes way less valuable because the stolen information is ambiguous and it expires instantly.
So what does all this really mean for the future? Well, adopting this kind of model has some really profound benefits, both for the organizations protecting our data and for us, the users. For organizations, the biggest win is becoming stateless. Their servers no longer need to store those giant, tempting databases full of passwords or secrets, and those databases are the #1 target for hackers. This single change basically eliminates the primary cause of those mega breaches we're always hearing about. It also means they can have strong audit trails without ever putting user secrets at risk.
And for us, the actual users, the benefits are just as huge. The process is designed to be a simple ritual, not some complex puzzle where you have to remember your dog's name from 10 years ago. It's more accessible, and crucially, it's designed to be future-proof. Because it's not based on who you are biometrically, it's naturally resistant to scary emerging threats like AI-powered deepfakes and voice clones.
And that extensibility benefit comes from a really key design principle. The system is carrier-agnostic. All that means is that the core logic doesn't care about the medium. The challenge can be visual, it can be auditory, it could even be based on touch or haptics. This flexibility is a massive leap forward for creating security that actually works for everyone.
So we kind of end where we started, but with a totally new perspective. If our identity is no longer a static secret that can be copied and stolen, but instead it's a dynamic capability that we just demonstrate in the moment, well, that changes everything. It really forces us to ask, what does security actually look like in a future without secrets?